Shay, Ma'at Hotep. This is The Truth May Hurt. My name is Raymond Witcher, and again, I am your host. I would like to say grand rising to everyone and welcome back, especially to The Truth May Hurt. I want to do part 2 of Why We're 17 Books Removed from the Bible. Okay? And we just want to look on the first part 1, we looked at the Enoch, the Book of the Giants, the Book of Mary, the Gospel of Mary, and Judith. Okay, I showed you some things, and I did that video because it just came to me. I was like, why? And I have read these books, and when I thought about it, I heard a song, and when I thought about it, it inspired me, and I was like, why did they need to remove these books? And it came back to me that I had read these books, and I want to show you some things to conclude part 1. Okay, we're going to look at the book of the Maccabees 1 and 2, and we may look at a couple more little parts. But the book of Maccabees is, as far as I can say, the only historical book in the Bible, and it never should have been removed because it is historical. You can verify things in Maccabees 1. You can verify these things because they actually happened. They are historical events that are recorded about the revolt. So we're going to look at a couple of these things, but what I would like for you to do is to open your mind, okay? Because we have been convinced through forms of religions and forms of education that we have learned everything that we need to know inside of a classroom or in Bible study, or I go to church every Sunday and I've gotten everything that I need, and I go to church and I study in the Bible, or I go to class and I graduated valedictorian. I know everything there is to know. We should never believe that everything that we need to know is within the circumference of this circle of our education, our religious background, and our beliefs, because most of us have been caught up in a belief system, a fear-based belief system being sold as a faith-based system, a faith-based belief system, and it's not. It is a system that they have been trained to keep us within the diameter of this circle, within the circumference of this circle. Okay, and if we get outside of this circle, we've sinned, and we brought damnation onto our soul. Okay, so put that down, and just let me show you a few things. Okay, the Maccabees. The first book of Maccabees is a historical book, okay? And I want to show you first, let's look and see who the Maccabees, okay? The Maccabees were a group of Jewish rebel warriors in the 2nd century BCE, okay? They led a revolt against the Seleucid Empire known as the Maccabean Revolt. We can look up the Maccabean Revolt. When I tell you that this is a historical book, it's because these things you can look up. I can't look up the 10 plagues in Egypt and find it historically recorded anywhere outside of the Bible. I can't look up the anything that they've said in the Bible in all of the other books. I can't find them anywhere other than the Bible. The book of Maccabees 1, you can look up the Maccabean Revolt. Figures, key figures. Now, there were 4, I think it was 3 brothers, yeah. The key figures include Judah Maccabee, the most famous leader, and his brothers, Jonathan and Simon. Yeah, it was 3 brothers. Their struggle was primarily to reclaim Jewish religious freedom and sovereignty. The revolt resulted in a rededication of the Second Temple celebrated during Hanukkah. The Maccabees established a Harmonian dynasty which ruled Judea for about a century. Okay, so we can look up this history. Okay, so if you just do a search, when was the Maccabean revolt? The Maccabean revolt began in 167 BCE. It was a response to the oppressive rule of the Seleucid Empire. Okay. The revolt was led by Mattathias and his sons. Okay, so it was Mattathias and his 3 sons. Okay. Particularly Judea Maccabee. The conflict aimed to restore the Jewish worship and independence. The revolt concluded with the redaction of the Second Temple in 164 BCE. So notice that the dates are counting backwards. So the dates aren't going from 167 to 168. So this war lasted 3 years until 164 BCE. The event commemorated by the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah. Okay, so we can trace this. So why was this book removed? What was the purpose and the need to exclude a historical book from the Bible, from the canon, to just be removed? Okay, is that a fair question? I think it is. Okay, so if you do a search on why were the Maccabees excluded from the Hebrew Bible, the Maccabees are primarily associated with the books of 1 and 2 Maccabees, which are part of the Apocrypha. We're going to look up what does Apocrypha mean. It means heretical. It means unacceptable teachings, basically, that I'm going to show you. Okay, these books were written in Greek, while the Hebrew Bible was primarily composed in Hebrew and Aramaic. Here's the Maccabean revolt occurred during the 2nd century BCE after the canonization of most Hebrew scriptures. The content of the Maccabees focuses on historical events rather than prophetic and religious teachings, which are central to the Hebrew Bible. So this was a historical. So Maccabees 1 is historical, then Maccabees 2 is theoretical. So even if they're saying that this one is historical, Maccabees 2 isn't. The Jewish community did not universally accept the Maccabees as divine inspired scriptures. The exclusion reflects the broader criteria used by Jewish scholars to determine the canon, emphasizing texts that were widely recognized and used in worship. Okay, some of this I've read, but I'm going to make sure I cover it. Church leaders determined the canon in scriptures and certain texts. The books were not included in the Hebrew Bible. Some teachings in the Maccabees conflicted with emerging Christian doctrine. See, Maccabees 2 is theoretical, and it went against what they were pushing and preaching. So it's telling you it conflicted with emerging Christian doctrine. Okay, the books were written during a specific historical period that some deem less relevant for the New Testament. See, the New Testament, the only thing they're pushing, they had to sell the concept and belief system and faith-based of Jesus Christ. And Maccabees 2 was not agreeing with what they were selling in the New Testament. the language originally written in Greek. Their acceptance varied among different Christian communities. And the Protestant Reformation, we went over this in part 1, emphasized leading to the exclusion of apocryphal text like the Maccabees. Okay, so apocryphal of a historical statement of doubt, authenticity, although widely circulated as being true. Okay, so it's saying that the apocryphal books that the church and the theologians have deemed as doubtful, or they're questioning the authenticity, even though, at least for a period, they didn't have any of these questions. So it was going against the teachings of the New Testament. Okay, and they had to disqualify it. Okay, I needed to come in and edit this in because this is very important, and it is specifically to the point that I'm trying to make. So when it says of a story or statement of doubtful authenticity, although widely circulated as being true. Now they're saying that they left out all of these books, the Maccabees, Enoch, Giants, the Gospel of Mary, Thomas, the Maccabees, and all of these books because they're doubtful. Their authenticity is doubtful. But they approved Genesis having talking snakes, and there's a Genesis flood that rained for 40 days and 40 nights nonstop and flooded the whole earth. And if you go back and look at my biblical flood video, it says that the rain would have to fall 252 inches per hour. But Genesis and Exodus and all of these books aren't doubtful. Okay, I just wanted to edit this back in because they're saying that they're using two different standards, and I'm saying that in quality assurance, I'm not going to allow you to do that because you can't reject these books as being doubtful and their authenticity is doubtful, and then accept the stories that are being told in the Bible. You have two different standards. I won't accept that. Okay, why? Okay, now I have shown this in a couple of videos before, but I never went into explain this part of the first Maccabees. So I want you to go to the first Maccabees and read I want you to go to first Maccabees, and I want you to go to chapter 3 and specifically read verse 48. Okay. Let's look at verse 48, and we're going to see something. Okay. The Gentiles would have consulted their idols in such a situation, but the Israelites wrote, wait a minute, this is not the one. Hold on. Okay. We need the King James Version. King James Version. First Maccabees, chapter 3, verse 48. And laid open the book of law. What is the book of law? The Bible, the Holy Scriptures, wherein the heathens, who are the heathens, the Gentiles, had sought to paint the likeness of their images. Now, this is very important because the Maccabees, see, the whole reason for the revolt was the Greek were coming in, and they were destroying Judaism. They were forcing everybody to accept their new religion now. Okay, you're gonna bow down and break to us. We're gonna break all of your traditions. It's called hell, and I'm gonna show you. It's called Hellenism, Hellenization. So when the Maccabees are reporting here, that the Gentiles laid open the book of law when the heathen sought to paint the likeness of themselves. Meaning, we're going to erase all of the black images of your hieroglyphics, all of your images of black gods, and we're going to make white gods. We're going to paint images of ourselves. And that's why you see all of the images in the church are white saints. This is why all of the angels that you see, or at least that we have seen, maybe you'll see a few now, are white. It's showing you in the first book of Maccabees, this is what they were going to do. Okay? To understand the significance of Maccabees, First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 48, consider the following. The verse describes the Maccabean leaders' action in preparing for battle. Battle with the Greek. They're coming in, they're trying to Hellenize everything. We're going to erase everything. I'm going to show you. We're going to make you white. Okay? And I'm going to show you. Because I have a presentation that I really wanted to do, but I wanted to do this one first so that part 1 and part 2 are together. But in Genesis chapter 11, verses, I think it's 1 through 9, I'm going to show you. If you do a reverse word search where it says to make brick, when you do the reverse word search on brick, brick means white. So it's saying to make white. You'll see in a minute. Okay, but the verse describes the leader's action to preparing for battle. It highlights the importance of spiritual and physical readiness among the people. The reading of the law signifies a return to faith and tradition. They were trying to destroy their faith and tradition. The gathering of people emphasizes unity in the face of adversity. The moment marks a pivotal point in the Maccabean revolt against oppression that was being imposed by the Greek. The verse illustrates the role of religious observance and motivating the community. I want to mention this. When this battle, because if I don't throw this in there, I will leave it out. When this revolt happened, the strongest brother, who was Judaeus, I think it's Judaeus, the oldest brother, the leader, he was killed, and he was the brains of the forces. He knew how to fight a war. I don't think he had ever lost a battle, but he was killed, and when he was killed, they weren't as good, and they were losing. This is when the Romans came in, and they persuaded or tricked, however you want to say it, them to come in and let the Romans help them fight the Greek. And if you let us come in and help you, and you team up with us, we'll defeat the Greek together. And they did. And this is when the Roman Empire took over, okay, and started, spreading Christianity and all of these things. But this is how it happened. So I wanted to throw that in. So when the brother died, the Greeks started winning, and the Romans came in and persuaded the younger brothers, and I'm not sure if the father was still living, to join up with the Romans to fight the Greek. And when they did, and they beat the Greek, then they had conflict with the Roman. So they may as well have just, it wasn't a deal. It was the con man always comes with a con plan, Okay, so the revolt aimed to restore Jewish religious practices and traditions. It sought to reclaim the temple in Jerusalem from Hellenistic influences. We're going to look at that. The Maccabees opposed the imposition of Greek culture and religion on Jewish life. So Hellenism and Hellenistic period, Hellenistic influences is, and Hellenization is replacing the Kemetic life and the Kemetic religion and the African life and the African religions, converting it and impose the Greek culture and religion on Jewish life. So it is a conversion. It is forcing their beliefs, their ways, and everything on the Africans. That's what it's telling you. All right. The movement was fueled by a desire for political independence from this Seleucid rule. It emphasizes the importance of Jewish identity and heritage in the face of assimilation. The successful revolt led to the establishment of the Hasmonean dynasty, promoting Jewish sovereignty. All right. Okay, so I'm going to do this video next probably. This video takes a comprehensive look at Genesis chapter 11. Genesis chapter 11 verses 1 through 9. But if you go to Genesis chapter 11 verse 3, and it says, and they said one to the other, go and let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. For stone and slime had they for mortar. Okay. So here, when it says, go let us make brick. Okay. Now, when you do, well, I have it right here. I already did it because it's in the presentation. Okay. So when you break down these words, make brick. When you reverse word search make brick back to the Hebrew word, it is Laban. And it means to make white, to become white, ethical purifying, to grow white. Okay? Now, if you get the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, or if you have a Bible with a concordance in the back, and you look these words up, it'll give you the number to plug it in to the Strong Concordance, and it'll give you the Hebrew word, and it'll give you the definition. See, brick in English means something that you build a house with, okay? A cinder block, you know, or masonry brick, you know. When it says, now read this. So they said one to the other, go to let us make brick. Okay, and they had brick for stone. You have to look these words up because we're thinking and relating to it of what the English definition of brick is, and we're thinking of building. It's not. It's talking about making the people. Okay? It's talking about making the people. And I'm going to show you. Okay, if they're strong, I can't find the free one. Okay, I'm not going to buy one, but they're free. You can go online and find the free Strong Exhaustive Concordance of the Bible. But I'm not gonna pay to do it. But when you find the free version, if you type in for the word 3837, it will tell you what the definition. See, because brick means brick means Laban. Make brick means Laban. Okay? And if you put in the code for the word, it comes up and it identifies what the definition of Laban is. And if you come down and just read, the meaning and scope of the name means white. Okay? And if you look at the word, the name, Laban, summary, means white. The etymology, it's an adjective, it means white. Okay, when we look at the meaning, it says white. The meaning of the name LeBron, the study name listed for Jones Dictionary of Old Testament properly names reads white. Not making it up. Okay? So now when you read 1 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 48, and laid open the book of law, the laws of Moses. They laid open the book of law, wherein the heathens, the Greek, sought to paint the likeness of their images white. Okay? White. They wanted to make brick, which is Laban, is to make white, to become white, ethically purified. Okay? So the Hellenization that the Greek did was removing all of our VIPs, all of our values, all of our interests, and all of our principles, and instilling the Greek culture, the Greek VIPs, values, interests, and principles. Okay? That's what this was all about. Now, keep in mind that we're talking about why were 17 books, all of these books removed from the Bible. I'm showing you why, because it exposes them in their effort to push their version of Christianity. Okay? They whitewashed it. They whitewashed the whole Bible. They whitewashed everything. Okay? That's what it's telling you. All right? So, remember when we first started, and I was showing you the reasons that they removed books from the Bible. They were saying that they questioned the authenticity, and that they were calling it unverifiable and things that were heretic, you know. But at the same time now, they gave us a Bible that has more unbelievable stuff in it that now they want us to believe is authentic. Now they're saying that the apocryphal books aren't authentic, but they want us to believe that it's authentic, that a snake was talking to the first woman that God created was tricked by a talking snake. That is authentic. But the things that I'm showing you aren't. They told us that 4 men built an ark. It took them over 80 years to build this ark. I did go back and watch my video on a comprehensive look at Noah's flood. And that every animal in pairs of either 4s or 14s, because it was 2 pair of every clean and 7 pair of every unclean. That's either pairs of 4 animals, 2 males and 2 females, or 14 animals, 7 females and 7 males, because it says 2 pair. God didn't know that you could get 14 females and 1 male and breed all of them? You didn't need. I mean, just common sense things. But when you're talking about authenticity, when I'm doing my study and I'm asking comprehensive questions about why were these 17 books removed from the Bible, and I'm finding answers to my question that say they question the authenticity. They question this and they question that. But then you give me a Bible that starts off with a talking snake, a flood, that all of these animals marched to this boat all by themselves, and they would set sail on this boat for 374 days. The boat was 1.5 football fields long. Now, the boat that Noah and his 3 sons built was 1.5 football fields long. I think 3 or 4 stories high. Okay? And they built it out of wood. And you're going to tell me that you want me to believe that they question the authenticity of these books, which when you read them, they're not out there like the scriptures that you're going to read in the Bible. So I'm just showing you, okay, so you're going to question these the authenticity of these books, but you want me to believe that the story of a talking snake, a biblical flood, all of these animals marched to the boat. It sailed for 374 days. Then all of the animals got off. The first thing they did was sacrifice one of the animals and kill them and eat them. And then all of these boats and all of these animals and all of these birds and all of these things that creeped around the earth were on this boat. They all creeped back to their native country. That's authentic. But the book of Mary isn't. The book of Enoch isn't. The book of Giants isn't. The book of Thomas isn't. The first and second book of Maccabees isn't. The book of Judith, man, every woman should read that because it empowers women. The reason that the book of Mary and the reason that the book of Judith was removed is because it showed the power of women. The Bible hates women almost as much as it hates Africans and people of color. So they had to come out. But you're going to have to tell me a lot more or give me a better answer than they question the authenticity of these books. Okay? It's just like when I question the biblical books that we have in the King James Version. When I question that, it's just like you telling me all you have to do is believe and have faith. You need more faith. No, I need better answers. So, look at this thing with an open mind and just tell me, where am I so far off that what I'm showing you makes less sense than what you see in the Bible? Now, I'm not asking you to believe it. I'm asking you to look at it and either say something is wrong. Now, most people that are believers and have all of this faith. Now, remember the definition of belief and faith, because what I'm doing is I'm holding everything down to the definition. They're going to say it doesn't matter and I don't care. Okay? Okay, so when we're talking and you tell me, you need, all you have to do is believe. What is a belief? An acceptance that a statement is true or that something exists. Trust, faith, or confidence in someone or something. Now, belief is a personal conviction that may or may not be based on evidence. Belief doesn't require evidence. Okay? Belief doesn't require evidence. All right? So when you're telling me that all I need to do is believe, you're telling me I don't need evidence. Right? Okay? What's the definition of faith? Complete trust or confidence in someone or something. Okay. A strong belief in God or the doctrine of a religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. Faith is nothing about proof. It's nothing about evidence. Okay, and that's what's gotten us messed up. Okay, we have all of the faith in the world and we believe, but it's based on doctrine that the same people that enslaved us, the same people that oppressed us, the same people that colonized us gave us. Okay, but it's a lot of psychology that goes in this because they've studied our minds. They know that once they Hellenized us and once they put these doctrines in place and established this belief system, it would become self-perpetuating and it would be almost impossible to stop. It would perpetuate itself. It's just like rolling a wheel down a decline, down an incline. Instead of pushing it up, you're letting it roll down the incline. Once it starts rolling down, man, it's going to be hard as hell to stop it. And that's the same thing with religion and faith-based beliefs. You know, so even though I'm showing the evidence, even though I'm showing you the rationale, and I'm breaking it down, the majority of the people, they probably haven't even watched this video this far. Okay? But that's okay. Main reason I'm doing this is for my family and my daughter, my son, my grandchildren, and everybody. But I have a responsibility to show it to everybody. Okay? I'm not picking and choosing. When I was picking and choosing, wait a minute, basically attributed to trust, especially in the context of religious convictions. Okay, it's about trust. Well, you know, I had 3 rules that I practiced in quality assurance. I only had 3 rules. Question everything. Wait a minute. Trust no one but God. Question everything. And rule number 3 was go back to rule number 1 and start over. Trust. I do. I trust God. Okay? Question. I do. Everybody but God. I question the men that wrote books saying God said this. That's not me questioning God. That's me questioning man. Don't get it twisted that because I'm questioning the Bible and I'm exposing things in the Bible, contradictions, and all of the things that you've seen on the Truth May Hurt, that, oh, now I don't believe in God. I just don't believe in the God that you told me to believe in. I don't believe in the one that you said God made me to be a slave and white people to be my master. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe in the God that said it's okay for you to beat a slave because he's your property. I don't believe that God. No, I don't. That's the one that's in the Bible. I don't believe the God that said, be kind to your masters, even those that are cruel to you. No, don't believe in him. I don't believe in the one that said, be kind to your enemy and turn the other cheek. My God would not tell me these things. My God is telling me, do not turn your other cheek to defend yourself and your family. You have a right. I put you here for a purpose, and it wasn't to be abused. That's what my God is telling me. My God is telling me, provide, protect, and defend your family. Okay? Don't let somebody lower you under them. That's what my God is telling me. Now, is my God better than that God? To me, he is. I'm not worried about other people's gods. I'm not worried about other people's philosophies. I'm not worried about following anybody else's doctrine. I'm so far away from that now that I'm at peace. Listen, as long religion has to keep you in a position that you feel you need something external. You need an external savior. You're going to get to go to an external heaven. All of these things are already in you. And the Bible that everybody believes in tells you that. I've just shown you that on a few videos back. Okay, so we just have to break this fear thing. Come out of that third dimension. Depending on which model you look at, there are either 5 or 7 dimensions of consciousness. I think the model for NIH has 7. I forgot the name of who has identified 5. But we're just going to look at the 5 right quick. The first dimension is once we were conceived and we're in our mother's womb and we're developing as a child, and we get to the, I guess, 3rd or 4th trimester, whatever it is, and now we have developed to the point that we can hear, we are moving, we can feel touch. That's the first dimension, and it's all in darkness. Because inside the mother's womb, there's only darkness. So we don't know how eyes work. We don't know what taste is because we're being fed through the umbilical cord. There's no fear. Okay? When we're born and we come out of the mother's vaginal canal and we take our first breath, that first breath is us taking in the Spirit of God. Don't want to go too far off track. And when we take that breath, our human experience begins and our spiritual experience goes in the background. But our human experience is an experience with God from the time we take our first breath. Because if you look up what is the Egyptian meaning of spirit, it's breath. So the etymology of spirit is breath. So when you take that first breath, and the first name for God is nature, and all of this is God. And your human experience starts with God. And now you're in the second dimension because your human existence started. Now when you come out and your eyes see light, you're like, wow, okay, I have eyes. And you can smell. You can smell the scent of your mom. You can smell the scent of your father. And your eyes, now your ears recognize the voice that you heard in the womb. And your eyes recognize, well, that must be my mother. And your umbilical cord is cut. And you're on your individual journey from that point until you die. You're in the second dimension. And in the first dimension, you have no fear. In the second dimension, you have no fear. And as you grow, as an infant, and you get to the toddler age and your parents have to keep their eyes on you, and they'll stop you from hurting yourself, and they tell you, don't do this and don't do that and don't touch that because it's hot. You don't know what hot is until one day you touch it. And now you realize, I need to be afraid of that. Now you have developed fear. When you develop fear, you've gone out of the second dimension into the third. The only place fear, or the place that fear is dominant, is in the third dimension. In the third dimension is the only place religion can survive. Because they scare the shit out of you from the time you're born until the time you die. Okay? Because as a child, as you're starting to understand words, the meanings of words, you know what's hot, you know what's fire. You see these pictures, the first faces you recognize are your family, your mom, your dad, your grandparents, and white Jesus on the wall. The first names you remember are your parents and your grandparents and your brothers and sisters, and that white picture is Jesus. And if you don't do what Jesus says, you're going to go to hell and burn on a fire. You see how this indoctrination works? Now you've developed the fear into that child's mind. One of the first fears that he has as a child is around 3 or 4 years old, understanding what fire is, and there's a place called hell. And if I don't do what white Jesus says and what this Bible says, I'm going to go to hell. Now you start putting that on a child's head and you let that develop all the way up through their adulthood and they never understand the things that I'm showing you here now. Now you're stuck inside this circle that they've put you in, that they depend on you staying in to get that 10% that you're going to come to church every Sunday and you're going to go out 6 days a week. You're going to work 5 or 6 days a week. You're not going to be able to be a mother to your children because you have to work 2 or 3 jobs because most fathers have been removed from the home. Your family structure is destroyed. And the only thing you have is to go to church on Sunday so that you can get pumped back up to go and do it again 6 days a week because of fear. Okay? Because of fear. And you're taking money that you desperately need to feed your children, pay your bills, and you're giving 10% to the church because they make you feel so guilty that if you don't do that, you're going against God. They're teaching everything in that Bible as a prophet and to keep you so afraid that you're never going to be good enough if you don't do what we say and come to this church. They keep you in that third dimension. And part of the third dimension of fear is you're not supposed to ask questions. No. You don't need to understand. Inside the third dimension, all you need to do is have faith and believe. In the third dimension is the only place that people aren't going to ask for proof or evidence. They don't need it. I'm a believer. I went to a funeral and they said, well, we're all believers in here. And I got up and walked out. I said, no, we're not. I'm sorry, but I just can't do it, man, because I see how sick it is. So, they can't afford. Well, they've done a good job maintaining what they have, but it's all getting ready to change now. Churches are closing. They're going out of business. This was only supposed to last 2,160 years during the age of Pisces. We're in Aquarius now. So they have a whole new religious system that they set up. Look up the New World Religion headquarters opened in 2023 called the Abrahamic Family House. And now they're saying that regardless of whether you're Jewish, Christian, or Muslim, as long as you're one of the 3 Abrahamic faiths, everybody gets to go to heaven. This is a business, okay? But I'm just trying to show you that you need to really just either read these books, or when you're on a trip, or if you're at home, pull up these on YouTube and listen to the audio books. Okay, just look at the audio books, okay? Either way, look at these because these are the lost books of the Bible. Complete audio books of Enoch, Jasher, Adam, Eve, Jubilees, all of them are here. And there are things there are a lot of good things in here. You want to know what, because the Bible doesn't tell you what happened in Jesus' life from 12 to 30. It's in these books. And one of the things that Jesus says in these lost books is he tells us that we're not supposed to eat meat. Okay? We're not. Okay, so we're about as far away as we can get from knowing what we need to know. And what we need to know is outside of the circumference of this circle. Okay? What we need to know is not in here. What we need to know is out here. All right? Now, this is one of the ones I think I listened to on the audiobook because it's like 4 hours. Okay? But it's worth it. Okay? It's worth it. And see, this one is an hour. The gospel according, Nicodemus. Okay? This one is 11 hours. All right? But Wouldn't you like to know what's in them and make your own decision, or make your own make your own assessment of, is it as really crazy and as bad as they say it is? Isn't it worth you looking at and saying, man, this really is crazy? But when you're using your tools to evaluate this, use the same tools that you're using to evaluate the Bible. Use the same scale. Don't change the scales of measurement. Don't change the scale of acceptability and rejection. Okay? Then tell me which one of them sounds more credible. Okay? So I'm not going to make this any longer. I wanted to give you the conclusion of why were these books removed? And I don't accept that they don't sound authentic. They don't sound believable. And you know, for 60 some years, I'm reading a book that's telling me that a snake, you know, convinced a woman to eat from the tree of knowledge, and somehow that got translated into this: she ate an apple. See how easy it is to make up a story and people just take it and go with it? Nowhere in the Bible does it say that Eve ate an apple. Okay, just want to show you how crazy this is. Now, if you do a search on where did we get Eve ate an apple and sinned, all right? Eve ate an apple and sinned because Satan deceived her. But Satan, the snake, not Satan, a snake. Now see, you remember I did a video 1 or 2 back saying how the Bible is written the same way fairy tales are written. And I showed you the similarities. Fairy tales either start off with once upon a time or in the beginning. Fairy tales have a hero, God and Jesus. Fairy tales usually have animals or some kind of animals. You got snakes, you have unicorns, you have dragons. Now, so when you type in, where did we get that Eve ate an apple and sinned? The answer comes up in Genesis 1 through 6. Eve ate an apple and sinned because Satan deceived her, the snake, by suggesting that the fruit would make her wise and free from God's command. Okay? Eve was led by the serpent to believe that the forbidden fruit would grant her knowledge. Okay? So here we are in Genesis. By Genesis 3, we already have something unbelievable. Well, we already had stuff unbelievable back in Genesis 1. But here we have the first presentation of an animal, a serpent. Same things in fairy tales. Look up what makes up fairy tales, and it'll tell you exactly what I'm showing you. But where did we get? I'm trying to show you how easy it is for people to make up things, because nowhere in the Bible does it say that Eve ate an apple. If you do a search, is there scripture saying Eve ate an apple? The Bible doesn't specify the fruit as an apple. It simply refers to it as the fruit of the tree. The story of Eve eating the fruit is found in Genesis 1 through 6. The fruit is described as good for food and pleasing to the eye, but no specific type mentioned. The association of the fruit with an apple likely comes from later artistic interpretations and translations. The focus of the scripture is on the act of disobedience rather than the type of fruit consumed. Okay, well now let's break this down. Because there's scripture that Jesus says, I think somebody asked Jesus, how will we know what kind of seed this is? And he answered, you will know the name of the seed by the fruit that it bears. Okay? So you will also know the name of the fruit by the name of the seed. So an apple tree produces apples. An orange tree produces oranges. A peach tree produces peaches. So they had to come from peach seeds, apple seeds, and orange seeds. Okay? So what is the forbidden fruit? It's not an apple. See, they used an apple to deceive you mentally, to take you away from what is really being said. So I ask you again, what kind of fruit would the tree of knowledge? The seed of the tree is named knowledge. The seed produced a tree of knowledge. What kind of fruit will a tree of knowledge produce? The only fruit that a tree of knowledge would produce is knowledge. And that's where they're messing you up. And they're telling you, because if you eat from the tree of knowledge, you will know what God knows. You will know good and evil. You will know both good and evil. Okay, so don't let people convince you to believe what they believe and that be good enough for you. Okay? We don't need to be, we need to read it just like it is so. We're told you can read the Bible and take it word for word. Well, I'm taking it word for word. And I'm not going to let somebody convince me and mix me up with misinterpretations of scriptures based on and solely based on the English definition. And I just showed you that where the Bible says make brick, it's saying make white. Okay, and that's what they have been doing for the last since 1619. When they say make white, it's not, well, now they have us bleaching our skin. So they haven't finished. They are making us white. But when they said make white in the Bible, it was saying make you think white, make you think and believe like white people think and believe. Make you give up on your African culture, your African ways, your African spirituality, and become like us. And that's what 90% of us are. We're Afropeans. We're not Africans anymore. We're not even African Americans. We never have been. We're Afropeans. We just have dark skin. And we have black people that are so mixed up, messed up, and confused that they're bleaching their skin trying to become closer to white. Now you tell me if we aren't messed up. Sammy Sosa, when he first came in the Major Baseball League, and Sammy Sosa, after he bleached his skin to make himself look white. Look at him through the process. Look at how messed up this man has damaged his skin to look white and to bleach himself like this. Look at him. So when you read in Genesis chapter 11, verse 3, and it said that they need to make brick. And if you read the verses before, matter of fact, the next video I do after this, watch it, because I'm going to break it down, how they said that they were going to take the people of one land that spoke one language, and they were going to make them white. They were going to make brick. And this was us that they're talking about. Okay? So I'm going to say ashe. Everybody, please like, subscribe, and share. We have a couple of new members. Welcome and thank you for joining. Please like, subscribe, and share. And if you haven't told anybody you love them today, I do. If nobody's told you they love you today, I do. Make sure you tell somebody you love them too and mean it. Ashe.